Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are reading Mistborn, the Hero of Ages, chapters 73 through 78. 6 chapters, wherein a lot of stuff happens. The Mists start acting weird. Vin fights a whole lot of Inquisitors and wins. Ellen decides to go look for her. There's a change of government within the Condra homeland. Vin becomes a god, as you do. Ellen makes it to Luthadel. If anything, it seems like he made it faster than Vin. I have to say, I commented on, man, Vin got there fast, but Ellen seems to have gotten there very quickly. And then Sazed is in prison, again, until he's rescued by an old friend. So I am Data, and with me is...
Joe.
Jack.
And Jamie.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. Really, we're in the middle of the Sanderlanche, quite clearly, but the podcast is beginning, so...
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction before the world turns black. Stand up and take it back.
Yeah, so things are happening very quickly. What did you guys think of these 6 chapters this time?
Man, it's all a blur. Vin becoming a god, unexpected, but I've got some theories maybe about that that we could talk about at the end. Sazed getting put in prison, kind of funny. I feel like it was kind of played very comedically in that chapter.
Yeah, I think so.
And just like the things he does, like making himself dense and fat to crush people. I mean, that's just really funny. Really liked the Condra stuff. The fact that Conpar decided to overthrow the government, I assume at Ruin's nudging, not surprising. Is a little surprising that the Fifths are going along with it, but maybe they're also being nudged by Ruin. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening here. I feel like Ellen solved the Penrod writing thing pretty darn quickly. A little surprising, but I guess we are near the end, so things got to move a little faster.
He had a little bit of help.
Yes, yeah. And so, I think these are all good chapters. I'm excited to finish up.
Yeah, we're so close now. We got I think it's 3-4 chapters and an epigraph, so we're right there. It's exciting.
Yep, lot going on. Didn't quite know what to make. It's like, oh, Vin's a god now. Okay, cool. Didn't see that one coming, but sure. Yeah, it's like I agree. I think the jailbreak scene was pretty cool. So he's just doing what he can. I did feel a bit like, Tensoon left Breeze in the Cantor homeland, went off to do stuff, accomplished nothing, and came back again. I'm like, oh, okay. That just seemed a bit, we need Tensoon out of the picture while Sazed is there, but okay. Like, yeah, on the whole, it's pretty good. I did feel like, Penrod's dead. We didn't actually get to see any of the shit he was doing. We just had to hear about it. Like, okay. But whatever, there was already a lot going on in the book, so... Yeah, on the whole, the Inquisitor battle was fucking amazing. Yeah. I don't really know what to think. A lot of shit's going on, and we're so close to the end. So I'm like, all right, just get in me.
It's a little bit disappointing. I agree that we don't get to see what happened with Penrod, but at the same time, I feel like for Vin and Ellen, it's kind of more dramatic and spookier to. We have no idea what's going on, and they show up to a city that's empty. We're like, oh geez, yeah. What happened?
And maybe that's it. If we had just shown up and gotten it from that perspective, maybe it would have had a bit more of an impact. But we know what was going on. We saw Marsh spike him, and we've heard Tensoon came there earlier, so we knew a lot more of what was actually going on with the city. So it wasn't quite as spooky for us. It's just kind of, oh yeah, that plot thread is just tied up here in a body. Oh, damn. Especially again, just because Penrod was such an important character last time, and then this time it's like, yeah, he's just managing stuff for us. He went nuts. Now he's dead.
Yeah. That's happened to a lot of. I mean, even I think Set of the new character from the last book, Set probably gets the most screen time in this one, and he didn't get a whole lot.
No,
unless he's going to show up at the end here and save the day.
Yeah, he's faking the spinal. He's going to get up out of the chair and walk.
That mispowered wheelchair is going to come back into play.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like how Set is both Walter and
The Big Lebowski.
Lebowski.
Yeah.
I liked these chapters. I sort of got to the end of them and I went, have I read 6? I'm not sure. Oh my God. I was so absorbed in it. I agree that the fight with the Inquisitors was really cool. I loved the countdown of how many she'd killed. Like, oh, this is so cool. Yeah, didn't see her becoming a god. No. No, that's not where, definitely not where my mind was. I guess I hope that we find a way for her to be able to communicate with everybody, because I feel like that's just a weird way. Be like, oh, where's Vin? No idea. Vin's gone.
That's true.
Yeah. So that was sort of interesting. I like to think that maybe the storyline with Penrod, that Brandon forgot about Penrod and just went, oh wait, yeah, he's dead. But yeah, it was good to sort of see a little bit more about where everyone's up to still. We didn't have a lot for Breeze and up in Urtau, other than the mists are gone. There's all this panic, get everyone into the cavern. So I realized that a lot of that storyline's wrapped up, but I still feel like we've got a bit more there to explore, which we didn't get this time. I'm really enjoying the stuff with the Kandra as well, and Sazed. I'm so glad that Sazed has got his groove back. He's finally decided to believe, and that's really working out for him. Yeah, good chapters. I am confused as hell as to where it's all going to wrap up, and we really don't have that much more to read to wrap it all up. So I am just hoping that it all comes together and makes a bit of sense.
That would be nice, yeah, if it made some sense before the end. So that's what you want to see. It's funny, Sazed now, he's like, he's going to have faith in Vin, and she's a god now, so I guess it kind of fits.
Yeah.
I guess let's get into these. The first epigraph is talking about piercing copper clouds, and it's like, so, Inquisitors could do it because we already talked about this, and then it kind of lays out what we already knew at this point, that it's like, yeah, so Vin was a Mistborn, her baby sister was a Seeker, and so that's how she could pierce copper clouds, because of her earring.
I'm not sure if it's just the way that we've read these, like read the story, read the epigraphs, and sort of dissecting as we go, but it did start to feel like these epigraphs were a little bit of a, so in case you didn't pick this up, this is why this is happening. Like, we already know that, give us new information. But if you were reading it just normally, maybe you don't pick that up that way. But it was good to have the confirmation. But again, I was like, I want new information.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is it's like, here's stuff that if you were paying attention, you figured out. But for those of you who weren't paying close enough attention, we're going to lay it out because this is important information to know.
Yeah.
I think it's just like the Hero of Ages has read Alendi's logbook and has read Kwan's word wall, and it's just like, man, these guys suck at actually giving information correctly and succinctly. I am not going to make that fucking mistake.
I don't know. She's not super succinct in a lot of these epigraphs, as Joe could probably attest to.
Look at this guy throwing a she out. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Can one be the Hero of Ages and a god?
Maybe that's what the Hero of Ages means.
That actually plays into my theory for later, but
okay,
we'll get to it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, the epigraph plays very coy about who this person is. It's like, we know who it is. So that's got to be.
So the mists changed, and we cut back to Tensoon, who last time he saw this giant lava field in front of him, and he was kind of like, okay, I could still try, but what's the point now? And he kind of just lays down and gives up a little bit. And that's where we find him. It's just kind of laying there like, what's the point? Also, I'm tired. I've been like running really hard. But the mists start to move in a way that they do not generally move, all in one direction and towards Luthadel. And he's like, oh, geez, maybe I'm not too late. And so he heads that way. And then we cut to Breeze. And Ariane's like, Breezy, come on, look. And Breeze is like, I remember distinctly telling Kelsier I did not want to end up in charge of anything.
Years later, still blaming Kelsier. Good on you, Breeze.
Yep. It's all Kelsier's fault. And they're also noticing, and really it kind of cuts to the different points of the Final Empire, I guess, to let us know, yes, this is happening everywhere to all of the mists. But Spook's out of bed, and he's like, gather the people. We need to move. get them to the storage cavern. We don't have much time. So he
Did
thinks
he
something
say it
bad's
as
coming.
cool as you just did?
Yeah, badass action hero Spook.
Yeah. He's
It
get
says
to the caverns.
it says he croaked, so it probably sounds like he's about to collapse. A good fart's gonna knock this guy over.
Yeah. Well, his lungs probably got burned up, so he could probably only talk like.
So he sounds like Christian Bale Batman is the thing.
Yeah. He's like, why do you want to kill me?
And then Ham and Elend over in Fadrex City are seeing the same thing. And the Koloss turn and they start to leave. Apparently, Ruin, controlling the Koloss, is also concerned about what's happening. Because the Koloss are also running towards Luthadel. And then we cut to Vin, and probably the most badass scene of the book, even beyond like the fight with the Inquisitors in that last section. This one is fun because it's a cool fight, but also I agree that I love the countdown.
Mm-hmm.
Or countdown.
It's the perfect time for the battle music to kick in for boss battle.
Just visually a really cool use of Allomancy. I know that she's drawing on the mists and unlimited power and whatnot, but just really cool to sort of piece together all of this stuff that we've seen before, the pushing, the pulling. It's almost like when we've had it really spelled out to us before about using this to push this and this to do that, and it's sort of been a little bit frustrating, but I feel like it's now so ingrained in us that you didn't have to be so granular in this fight, and it just you can see it, and it's visually beautiful to watch, and that she's also having a ball doing it. It's fighting some Inquisitors. You don't feel bad about killing them.
No.
Yes, got another one.
Yeah, it's like zombies. Like, you don't feel bad. Or Nazis.
Yeah.
No.
There's just groups that you're like, yeah, kill them. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her power's really maximum in this. She's really bullying this fight.
I was saying it's more like a Neo thing. It's like after he died and then he got back up and all of a sudden the agents were just like not a threat anymore.
It is kind of like that, yeah.
Like, especially the whole, man, how did I ever think these guys were fast? Boom.
Well, she has unlimited medals now, apparently, from the mist, so it's easier to... and she's just
tell
doing
us what
crazy
the last
shit.
2 medals were.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you
know.
have all the medals, you should be able to use them.
Yeah. Unlimited power.
So,
I
yeah,
felt atmosphere and pushed it at you.
Yeah.
She's chopping heads off of Inquisitors. She's ripping ice spikes out. And she's like, 2, 3...
She's turning Critic Shaw to rubble, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, I the next death was like she takes the guy spike she just ripped out of one guy and like sends him flying at a different guy through his chest, and it's like there's 4. But yeah, the coolest part is basically she just like levels the entire Lord Ruler's palace and finds a couple more dead guys like in the rubble. It's like 9, 10, 11, good, okay. And at one point she flies up above the mists and sees the stars. And sees the mists like doing like a reverse whirlpool going up and into her. It's a very like I want to see that moment. That's a very cool, amazingly described moment. Yeah. She ripped several people's eye spikes out since she figured out that you can just rip 2 of them out, and those are I guess the most easily accessible spikes. Like, okay, take those. And eventually,
was it the last chapter? She pulled one eye spike out and the guy was still alive. She's like, okay, that didn't work. But if I pull the other one out, oh hey, it worked. Yes.
We got there eventually. But after she's taken out like all the rest, basically, she finds one guy all messed up on the ground. And it's like, oh, it's Marsh, the last Inquisitor. And she kind of doesn't want to kill him, but at the same time, she's like, no, this isn't Marsh. Marsh is gone. This is Ruin. And she reached down.
The fact that Marsh isn't gone is the reason she was able to do all this shit.
Right? But he probably still wants her to kill him, so it's okay.
Yeah, true.
But she reaches down, she pulls out one of his eye spikes, and then she reaches out to get the other one. Oh, we got to Marsh's viewpoint for a minute there, I guess, which is, he's like, yes, it worked. Haha, suck it, Ruin. And it's from his perspective that she pulls out one of the spikes, and he's like, that hurt more than Marsh would have thought possible. And she's reaching for the other one, and he's waiting for it, like, yes, come on, kill me. And then she disappears. There's like an outline of her body in the mists, and that dissipates, and she's gone. And he's the last thing left lying in the wreckage of this giant palace.
But he's still alive.
Yeah.
He's not done yet.
He's had his moment of resistance, and if he's the only Inquisitor that Ruin has left to control, you got to figure he's not going to get out of Ruin's control again easily.
So yeah, we haven't seen the last of him yet.
Then we get the next epigraph, which is like she asked Ruin why he chose her, and it's like, well, I mean, it's simple. The basic reasons are simple. She was the right kid in the right place at the right time. Like she was in a position to get the right spike that Ruin needed someone to have to let her sense the Well of Ascension. So that's why Ruin needed her to have the extra bronze so that she would sense the Well of Ascension first before anyone else could.
Yep, she had the right stuff.
She had an insane mother, and she had a sister who was a seeker, so everything fell into place. And then, of course, it has to be mysterious and be like, there were other reasons, of course, but even Ruin didn't know them.
Everything was- There was a period there where everything was coming up Millhouse.
Yep. So yeah, then we cut back to Ellen and Fadrex, and day has broken with no mists. And no one is really loving this. The Ska yeoman says are now too scared to come out. And everyone seems to point out, they're like, well, you were upset when the mists were staying, and now they're gone, and you're still upset. What's your problem? And it's like, well, this is a major change to the way that the world works that they've known their entire lives. Can you not see? But also, the sun's real hot. And Yeoman's like, man, was the sun always this hot? Which is a weird way to phrase that.
It's like, man, global warming? What?
Yeoman's like, I've never been outside before. Was it always this bad?
Wobba wabba?
Just need to get that giant ice cube.
Yeah.
And then Ellen's like, okay, this is not good still. Yeoman, I want you, he starts giving Yeoman some orders, like do this, do that. Get ready to get people moving into the storage cavern. Tell the soldiers to be ready for something. I don't know what. And Yeoman's like, you sound like you're not going to be here to help me. And Ellen's like, no, I'm not. I'm going.
I got shit to do.
Yep. And Yeoman takes the moment to be like, you know what? I was wrong about you, man. I'm sorry. He didn't actually say I'm sorry. He's like, the things I said were undeserved.
Yeah.
And Ellen's like, dude, when the Koloss were going to kill my army, the Koloss army that I brought here were going to kill my people. You let us in. I don't care what you said.
Yeah. And if there was more time, maybe our bromance would have started, but there's no time.
They can start a book club later. It's fun.
Yeah. With
Just
Norden.
Norden.
Yeah. And he'll just show up to the book club and be like, I know why you're sad.
And Ellen's like, I didn't invite you.
He's like, oh,
Aw,
no, I'm
we
sad.
love Norden.
Yeah, we love good guy Norden.
We do.
Yeah,
Smiling
The
obligator.
smiling
Ellen.
obligator.
yeah. Now I want that to be like a brand of like laundry detergent. Smiling obligator laundry detergent.
On it says, I know why you're sad.
Yeah. I know why you're sad, because your clothes are dull. Use me, they'll be brighter. Yeah, your clothes covered in ash? Smiling obligator will get it cleaned up.
Oh, gosh.
Covered in Koloss blood? Smiling Obligator will help.
Yeah. Or you just covered in dust from your library session. Smiling obligator's here for you.
Someone in the Discord who's good at graphic design should make a logo for Smiling Obligator laundry
I was about to
detergent.
say, yes. I would totally make a TV show. A t-shirt on a Smiling Obligator laundry detergent. And
Yeah.
I could draw, which I can't.
No, that's gonna
I
be
want him
the-
cross-armed like Mr. Clean. And his eyes are closed because he's smiling so hard, but all his head tattoos make it look like his eyes are open.
Weird.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
that's gonna be the ad break in the sitcoms about the characters we've already brought up.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like
It'd be like
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Creepy,
Yeah, exactly.
Creepy, weird commercials where the guy's on a desert island and then dies. Oh, gosh.
Oh, WandaVision.
I like that Yeoman still thinks, he's like, hey, you're wrong, by the way. The Lord Ruler is still guiding all of this.
And I was just like, you had to ruin it.
You're having a moment. And Ellen actually doesn't care. Ellen just grins at that. It's like, you believe what you want to believe, man. You're helping me. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I know we already pitched like an odd couple sitcom, but now I feel like it should be Yeoman and Ellen.
I don't feel like they're an odd couple, though. Except
I
for
guess that's true.
just
They're
beliefs.
friends now.
Actually,
they're both like
They're a bit
book-
too similar.
Yeah. We could do a different sitcom called
An
Thick
even
Book-
couple.
Thick Book Theory.
Thick book.
And they can be roommates. And then Vin can move across the hall.
I did have a random thought through the week. It's just like I pictured Set and Yeoman. Like for some reason I had an idea of like Mistborn as Muppets, and
Okay.
Set and Yeoman were like Statler and Waldorf after they had a fight.
I love that. That's great.
I went through and did like I actually just wrote down a whole bunch of the other Muppets like here and there. It's like Kelsey was Gonzo,
Yeah. I can see
Marsh was Sam the Eagle. The Kolos were all animal.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah,
and Rashek was Uncle Deadly, and like for some reason Ruin was Crazy Harry, the Bolshevik guy with the dynamite.
that does seem like a ruin sort of thing. Okay, I buy it.
Yeah.
So now I got to figure out like who's Breeze.
I had Breeze down as
Phased.
Fozzie Bear.
Okay, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Orianne was Miss Piggy. That was an easy one.
Oh well, yeah. That's clearly Orianne. Yeah.
Sazed Kermit.
No, I had Says down as Rolf. I had Kermit was Dachshund.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Ham was Scooter. I had Norden down as the Swedish chef.
That doesn't make any sense, but I like it. Okay. What about Vin? Who's Vin?
I had Vin, like, I was thinking of, like, Vin and Ellen were, like, Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island. They were the human characters mixed in with all the rest of the... Yeah. And then it's like, well, Ellen's family was Straff and Zane, so they had to be human as well. So I left all them out.
So Straff is Long John Silver. Got it. Okay.
Yep. I think I had Clubs and Spook down. Like, Clubs was Bunsen Honeydew and Spook was Beaker.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if that really fits Clubs.
Because you don't understand. Yeah, that's great.
But I like the idea of Spook as Beaker.
Yeah, I love that. That's the best.
It's just like blindfold Beaker running around being a badass. That would be so funny.
There's gotta be something better. Something better. There's gotta be something better than this for me. Muppets Treasure Island.
Yeah, now you got me in a whole Muppet thing. Okay, no, we're moving. That's great. We're moving past.
One last one. Sailing
Okay.
for adventure on the deep blue wet thing.
But then, okay, so Yeoman gives Ellen his last beat of Adium. He's like, "Hey, bro, in case you need it, man." And then I was wrong. I was like, I don't think they ever mentioned what an Adium misting is called. He totally does, because Ellen doesn't understand yet. He's like, "How did you act like how did you make it look like you were an Allomancer?" And he's like, "I am an Allomancer."
Thanks for noticing, man.
I am an Adium misting, a seer. And Ellen's just like, okay, no, that makes sense. And there's a little bit in the annotations about this. The Lord Ruler did test his obligators for the power of Adium. He knew about Adium mistings, obviously. Didn't tell anyone, but tested obligators to see if they were, and especially the high-ranking ones. Those he found were told of their power, and they were used as an extra level of security. There weren't many, but there were some, and they tended to rise in the ranks very quickly, like Yeoman did, and be given important positions. So that's how Yeoman found out what he could do, basically. In case you were wondering, well, wait, how did he get Adium and decide to test himself to find out if he was an Adium misting?
Got really drunk one night, had a spare bead, and just like, fuck it. Like, dude, don't blow all your money by swallowing it. Try and stop me.
And I like, Yeoman even says, like, I never really found the power all that useful. I mean, how often do you have Adium and the desire to use it up in a few heartbeats? Go find your wife, man. It's cool. And so he does. He takes off, doing his best to fly with horseshoes as Vin had taught him. So the next epigraph confirms more stuff that we already knew, basically. Each hemalurgic spike in a body gives Ruin some small ability to influence them. Depending on the spike, the size of the spike, and the length of time, Ruin would only have minimal powers over a person. He could appear and warp their thoughts slightly, such as making them overlook certain oddities, for instance, the compulsion for keeping and wearing a simple earring. So there's why Vin kept putting the earring back on.
She was a bit irrational about that every time we see her. She's like, oh, gotta put that back in. It's like, very strong-willed about that.
Right?
So that makes sense.
Given what a
Especially
grisly remembrance it is.
Yeah, it's like it's not really giving her the warm and fuzzies. It's not like her mum sat her down one day and was like, "You're a really good girl, Vin. Have this earring as a constant reminder of me." No. She killed her sister with it and then pierced her ear with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real downer.
This is not what we meant by family bonding.
Yeah.
On the plus side, it's probably lost now. So
Right. And Vin always complains about how her family never comes to visit her, but she fails to mention that they're all dead.
Wow.
I mean,
Her dad wasn't dead until the end of the first book.
Yeah, but he was a dick. He
Yeah,
definitely
he
wasn't
was.
coming to visit. Also, it's like, yeah, the earring's probably lost, and I'm like, yeah, probably is, but also, I don't know if Vin has ears anymore, so.
Good point. Yep. Maybe she has god power. She can make her own earrings if she wants. It's fine. So yeah, we cut to Sazed, and he's going through his notes. But he's like, it's annoying because you got to keep the notes in metal, and the plates are easily scratched, and you can't fold them or bind them into a book, or they're just really inconvenient. And we find out that Kandra like human comforts such as blankets, cushions, and mattresses, so that's nice. And some of them even like wearing clothes. And he has a whole thing about genitals, and it's like, I wonder what the point of that is, since that's not how they reproduce, but whatever. I don't think we know how mist wraiths reproduce, actually. That's maybe an interesting question.
Like, yeah, where do baby mist wraiths come from?
Yeah.
Is this a question we need answered?
Yeah, maybe they're like amoebas and they just like split off.
Could be. And so he's basically learned a bunch about the ancient Terrace religion at this point. Their god Ter, which is the ancient Terrace word for to preserve, so preservation basically.
Yeah.
Let's see. Taught temperance, faith, and understanding. Better to build than to destroy, and et cetera, et cetera. It's a religion. It's lots of interesting little tidbits for him. And he's like, this depresses him because he's like, it's just another religion. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but and he's now forced to deal with what he started to deal with earlier when he got through all his religions. But then he had like, oh wait, there's one more. Maybe that'll have the answers. He's just like, there's not any answers for me to find. But he starts to kind of take a different approach to it when he reaches this dead end. And he starts thinking about faith, stuff that Spook said. Which, geez, you're taking advice from Spook. You must really be at a low point here, dude. And he makes an interesting point where he's like, I was begging for a sign of some sort, and I got it. So maybe that means something? Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But when it comes down to it, like, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a believer? Do I want to be a skeptic? What's going to be better? And he's like, you know what? Breeze was right. I'm not supposed to be an atheist. So he kind of just decides. He's like, I'm going to believe. Okay. Good deal.
I believe what I was programmed to believe.
I was thinking more like he breaks out into song, like from Book of Mormon.
That's exactly where I went.
Yeah.
You said that, and the only Book of Mormon song I could think of was the opening, where it's like, hello.
Oh, no, not that
doesn't
song.
make any sense, no. Also, probably not like Hasa Diga Ibowe.
No.
No, not that song either.
There's a song laid in that's like all about I believe. He's talking about the tenets of Mormonism. He's like, I genuinely believe this. Yay. Meanwhile, like the warlord in the background is just like, why are you here?
It has been a while since I took before we were married, while we were dating, I took my wife bought tickets when the show came to Dallas, and we went and saw it. That was fun, but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I got the soundtrack not that long ago, actually, but I can't listen to a lot of the songs when the kids are around. So
yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. I think the last play I saw was the last play I was in or the last musical that I was in was Spamalot, and then the last one I saw actually was probably also Spamalot.
Like a different performance of Spamalot?
Yeah, like it came to town with like a traveling group, and then like that was in February, and then that summer one of the universities was going to do the show, so then I auditioned and got in the show, and so I did the show.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Very
It was fun. I got to play Lancelot, which was my favorite character, so it was a good time.
Awesome.
Yep, got to be Tim the Enchanter. Had to learn how to walk on stilts for the Knights of Knee. It was a whole
good
thing.
Lord.
Oh, geez. Stilts are scary.
Yeah, they were painter stilts, so they weren't super tall,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like straps and stuff. So it was
Yeah.
pretty safe. I just had to learn how to balance. But luckily, they gave me like the Knight of Knee is supposed to have like a big walking stick, so it kind of helped.
Oh, yeah, that would help, yeah.
The last time Spamalot was in town here, one of the local companies did it. A friend of ours was in it, and he got stabbed because a retracting knife didn't retract.
Oh,
Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah, he jokes about it to this day.
And that's how I lost a kidney. Good times. Man, I don't think I've ever seen Spam-A-Lot, actually.
You didn't see it when I did it?
I don't remember seeing it when you did it.
It's pretty funny.
Although, I remember seeing, like, Young Frankenstein when you did it.
Yeah, that was
That's
the
the
same
only
summer.
one off the top of my head that I can think of.
That was the same summer. I did them both that one summer. I think you did see it because you said my British accent was bad.
Really? Okay. If you say so, I believe you.
It's like, sounds like something I would say.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever fighting Godzilla, but that is so what I would have done.
Gosh. Okay. Sorry. We'll go back to the thing.
Yeah.
Sazed is thinking about the first generation and how they don't seem all that reverent of like the first contract and stuff. And he's like, of course, these are the guys who knew the Lord Ruler personally, so they're not. It's kind of like me knowing Kelsier. It's hard to think of him as like a god. And now Vin is a god, so you know.
So we've all met people who eventually turned into gods in some way.
It happens.
Yeah.
Weirdly often in this world.
One thing about the first generation I have noticed, which is kind of confusing to me, it's like one of them, like a guy named Haddock, his name doesn't have the whole Kandra thing of a capitalized letter in the middle of the name.
Yeah, I assume that's because like his name is originally, a Terrace name because he was a Terraceman. So
yeah, I get that. So I'm just then curious, like, so where did that practice come in? Like the seconds have it because Kanpar obviously has it,
right?
So what, how did that come into play? What was the reasoning behind that?
The first generation's like, we should come up with a cool name scheme to just start our new species. That's a good question. Ask the first generation later. Be like, Sazed, just ask him.
Yeah, it was Kanpar. He was like, everyone's name must be like mine.
Yeah, he's the only second generation with that name, and he's like, no, we're going to use it for everybody. I don't know if we know the names of. I think we may have like heard one other second generation name.
Varcel, I think, came up. I don't know if he was a second.
Varcel sounds familiar. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to look it up because it's going to bug me. Second generation, not immigrants, of Kandra. Sorry, autocomplete on Google. Okay. Yep. Let's see. Notable Kandra. Kanpar, Orsor, Tensoon. Now that guy's a sixth generation. That's a third generation. Quan Chi. That would be.
Yeah. That's it's a Mortal Kombat reference. Yeah. For my MK peeps.
Hun 4 is the second generation that we heard.
Yeah, I think I heard that one. Yeah, I remember that.
He was there at the trial. Yeah. I think he may be the stupid one.
That's right. Good old arm face.
The ugly one. Stupid one. He's like that. He's like
that one robot elder.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we made that joke at the time.
That's for sure.
Oh gosh.
Quiet, Jimmy.
Government of corrupt robot elders. Okay. So yeah, speaking of the second generation, as Sazed enters, the second generation is beset with questions by the younger generations, like, hey, what's going on? I don't understand. Why is this happening? And Kanpar's like, no, calm down. It's not a big deal. There was rain, and clearly that's what happened. And Sazed is like, what are we talking about? And the Kandra are like, the mists. And he's like, what? That they're coming earlier? And he's like, no, they're gone. And just like Yeoman, Kanpar's like, ugh, you people whine when they stay too late, and now you're whining because they left. Jeez.
Kanpar's just like, there is no such thing as mist going away.
It's like, it rained last night. Sometimes the rain disperses the mist. It's not a big deal. Like, but it's not raining now. And I love that Kanpar doesn't appear to be curious at all. He's just like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's normal stuff. Like, he makes excuses and isn't concerned about what the real explanation is, apparently, that we see. But then the first generation is like, no, wait, this is important.
He's just like, I've been around for 900 years. It's fine.
And the first generation is like, okay, everybody out except for Sazed. The resolution may have come, and the
resolution has begun.
Didn't print up enough flyers.
Yeah, his mom and his boyfriend and her boyfriend showed up, who he hates.
Exactly.
Damn it, Doug.
But so yeah, I don't know if we know at this point what the resolution is. They explain it, but it's kind of like a hell of a bomb to drop on them. He's like, okay, everybody out. It may be time to commit suicide. We'll let you know.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're like, hey, so Sace, what do you think about the mist? And he's like, I mean, it seems like a big deal, but I don't know why. And they're like, that's because you don't understand. And so the resolution is part of the first contract. They're like, the Lord Ruler mentioned it, like, basically we'd finished the first contract, and the Lord Ruler's like, oh, by the way, like, as an afterthought, mention this thing. But then he was like, this is actually kind of important. Like, almost forgot.
That sounds like Rorschach.
It kind of does, right? And so one day we would have to remove our blessings and kill ourselves. And so he's like, wait, that would kill you? It was like, well, it would make us mistrace again, which is basically the same thing. So every conjurer is sworn and ingrained to pull their blessings free should the first generation command it. And we find out that the mists are the body of preservation, he says. There's lots of stuff that's the body of these gods. They throw that word around a lot, but apparently
they got a lot of bodies.
Yeah. Well, and the next epigraph, I think, kind of touches on that, but
I mean, I guess it's like in Greek mythos, right? It's like they use bodies. Just like, I appear as a goose. I appear as light. I appear as whatever.
Yeah, a golden shower. And
Yeah.
Sure, I remember.
Everyone comes back to that bloody shower.
Right. Yeah, like he appears as a light beam that impregnates a woman inside a box. It's a whole thing.
But I love that the Lord Ruler's like, okay, you guys are going to have to kill yourselves at some point. They're like, oh, geez, when? He's like, I don't know. You'll know when it's time. Just, okay, dude, if you say so. That's the first generation. It's like, the mist disappearing. Is that what, are we supposed to know? Is this it? Jeez, this is why you don't give these vague sort of orders. It's like, no, you'll know. It's fine. Every day, they're like, it rained today. Is that the sign? Are we supposed to kill ourselves?
That's a long 900 years.
Right?
You have to imagine some of them will be in the middle of a contract being commanded to do stuff by the humans, and the rain clouds roll in. It's like, oh, shit, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now, guys.
See, this is why you don't get too invested in what's going on in the outside world, because you never know what's going to seem like the signal.
Yeah, but then you wind up like Kanpar, who's like so not invested in the outside world, he thinks nothing is the signal.
Right, it's true. I mean, I would have thought that maybe the Lord Ruler dying would have been the thing, but nobody seems to have considered that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it, right? Like, nobody wants to die.
Right, yeah.
Konpar's ruins nudging him. He's like, Konpar's like, I don't want to die. I want to live.
There's so much I haven't done.
Yeah.
Kanpar, you haven't left the homeland in like 700 years. I want to study the rocks.
I'd get around to it if these pesky first generation people would let me rule. Then I'd get on to doing things I want to do.
Yeah.
Like bossing people around.
Yeah.
And so Sace is like, so wait, the mists are the body of preservation. Nod. And they've disappeared. Again, a nod. Does that not mean that preservation is back? They're like, no. Preservation, he's gone. And I like someone's like, wait, but the sliver remains, the shadow of self. And Holly's like, yeah. But I mean, at this point, with Ruin Escape, we have to assume that that's been destroyed also. It's just a remnant. So clearly we're talking about the Mist Spirit now. And it's funny that they're familiar with it. They're like, yeah, we all knew about that thing running around out there, but it's not a big deal.
We would wave at him sometimes. He waved back. It was great.
Yeah.
But then
he tried to stab us with a psychic knife, and we were like, we're Contra.
stab away, dude. But then like the door gets thrown open, and we got the second generation, along with some big rock bone fifth generationers coming in, and Konpar's like, take them. Like Hadek is like, what is this? And he says it twice. He's like, Konpar, what is this? And they don't say anything, and says like, it's a coup. Just I've seen this sort of thing before. And Konpar's like, look, you people suck. You're like messing up everything, letting revolutionaries talk, letting outsiders into our like homeland. And Haddock's like, dude, this is not the time for this crap. And Konpar's like, not the time. You were talking about the resolution. You have no idea how much panic that has caused. Which, yeah, it would. When everyone starts spreading the word that, oh, by the way, we may have to kill ourselves soon.
Yeah, look, he could have handled that with a little bit more tact. Maybe not drop the resolution. Maybe just go, we need a minute, guys. Get out.
Yeah. But I like that Say's notes that despite sounding all angry, Konpar is kind of smiling a little bit. And Sazed thinks it's not even about what Compar says about it. It's about the fact that the seconds have been in charge for all this time, and all of a sudden the first are talking to people and making the seconds redundant, like overruling them. And you can't let that happen. Somebody's trying to take your power. And so he's like, Compar can just stuff them anywhere and then put dummies up in the alcoves, which is what we thought had happened already. So
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, the cardboard cutouts are still a possibility.
Yep. And the first nurse is like, hey, you owe us obedience. We created you. And Compar's like, not even acknowledging this. He's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Just take them away.
Yeah. The conjurer, like, what do the firsts think about this? And you just hear, keep the change, you filthy animal.
Oh, gosh. And so then they gag the firsts and drag them out. And Sazed is kind of like, okay, guys, I understand what's going on here. I see why you're upset. But this is not, stuff is happening. You don't do this, please. Like, look, you guys can be in charge. Like, just lock us in this room if you want. But this is important stuff that we're doing. And Compar's like, nah, gag him. Get him out of here. Oh, Compar, you suck so much.
It's the ultimate, this guy. Because apparently we need to have one of those each book.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a very important role to play in the books.
Yep.
Okay, and the next epigraph, it's like, you know what? I've always wondered about this strange ability Allomancers have to pierce the mists. Tin lets you see further, which doesn't actually make any sense because it's an obstruction. You shouldn't be able to see through an obstruction by seeing better. This should have been our first clue. Allomancers can see through the mists because it's composed of the same power as allomancy. And so burning tin attunes.
Hang on. You can't see through an obstruction like by burning tin. And yet, what was Spook doing with that blindfold?
That's true. I think it was more that you can see through some cloth a little bit.
Yeah.
That or the blindfold was also made of preservation.
Oh yeah, that it could be that too. Good point.
Yeah, that's true. He bought it from the preservation store, so all of the items are made out of preservation. It's very naturalistic. They use every part of the preservation.
So I didn't actually ask you guys, because we're about to get to the Vin God chapter. Like, what did you think when Vin disappeared in that previous chapter?
I kind of thought she might have been dead. Like the power had consumed her body or something.
She burned it too hard and exploded or
not exploded
or
because basically she just vanished because her body couldn't handle all the power, and so eventually it just consumed her.
That would have been a hell of a death. How do you explain that?
I thought Marsh was just so fucked up, he thought she disappeared when actually she just jumped away and left him to rot. Maybe I misread it a bit.
I went through both schools of thought because I was like, oh, she's vanished, into thin air. What? How? Okay. Oh, no, maybe she's chickened out of killing him and has disappeared. She's run away. So I kind of went through both, and then it was like, oh, no, she did actually just disappear.
Yeah.
Oh, she's God now. Okay.
Cool. Well, and honestly, the beginning of this chapter, it starts out in that kind of thing. It's like, is she dead? Because she's floating in nothingness or whatever, and it's like, oh, did she die? Are we seeing the afterlife now? Is this going to be a thing?
Yeah.
And she even thinks to herself, she's like, I'm dead. But then she's not exactly dead.
She's just reached a higher level.
And she sees level. You've unlocked the power of love. She sees Ruin, and it's not Reen, a big old patch of shifting black smoke, a thing without a body. It's like, wait, that's what I am now. And that's when Ruin's like, Vin, so welcome to godhood. And her first day as god doesn't go super well.
Yeah, she spins the planet real fast. She kills some people with some waves.
Yeah, she's like, oh, hey, I can help stuff now. The planet is dying, and I can feel it. She can even feel the people down in the storage cavern. She's like, wait, they're not storage caverns. They're shelters. That's why they're so vast, so that people can survive a little longer down there, which we kind of already knew, I think. But and she's like, well, I can
think of Rashek as just one of those apocalypse preppers.
That's true.
What's the right term for that?
Doomsday
prepper. That's the one.
Yeah. He made the biggest doomsday prep basements ever. Fallout shelters, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, she's like, oh man, I got all this power. Look, I can plug up the ash mounts and sweep all the ash out of the sky, smother the lava. I'm going to save everybody. Except that she didn't realize that the ash was there for a reason. And so after she clears the sky, everything starts to burn. At which point she's like, oh, shit. Okay, hold on. And then she has to turn the planet so that all the people are on the dark side so they don't burn to death. But that does bad stuff to the weather and sends a giant tidal wave towards the coastal cities.
Yeah, you're not winning this one, Vin.
Well, and maybe she could have done something. Like, she reaches out to stop the wave, and Rowan's like, nope, we're going to let that wave go right on ahead.
That would just be awful.
Yeah. And she starts to realize, she's like, she has the history, she can feel the history of the power that she holds, basically. So she kind of sees what Rashek did while he was holding some of this power. And she sees how he messed up the planet and opened the ash mounts to fix it. And she's like, oh, maybe I should have figured all this out before I started doing shit. But it just seemed like such a good idea at the time to get rid of the ash and smoke.
It's like her character arc for the last book was like, stop overthinking things, just do what feels right. Oh, god damn it. I mean, Vin, damn it.
And I like that these people on the coast are the ones who they managed to survive. The Koloss, they either hid for them or they weren't necessarily there. And when the crops failed, they still had fish to catch and eat. And so then Vin sends a tidal wave to kill them. Oh, man. And so Ruin is kind of laughing about it because he's like, look, this is what it's like. Balance. The curse of our existence. I can't do anything because you'll stop me. You can't do anything because I'll stop you. So, hey, that's where we live.
Yeah. After he finishes that speech, he notices Vin's gas form's eating a muffin. He's like, where'd you get that muffin? She's like, muffin button?
Muffin button.
Muffin button.
I want a muffin button.
I want a muffin.
Yeah. But she's like, what, Ruin is not exactly telling the truth because he's like, hey, no matter what you do, you're going to hurt somebody. I'm doing you a favor by stopping you, honestly. And Vin's like, okay, well, that's clearly not true because I don't believe that he's stopping me out of the goodness of his heart. And she also has, she sees metal as like glowing with power. And so she realizes this is how Ruin must see it. That's why he can't read words written in steel or metal. She says steel. I think it's any metal. And Ruin has his little rant about like, I was surprised when Preservation gave up so much of himself to create you. Something that can choose to preserve at some times and ruin at other times. But he drops one fun little factoid where he's like, something in the form of that which we've seen before. It was intriguing. So they copied people from something they had seen before.
Yep, they got booted off another planet and sent to this one.
I like that idea.
Corner.
Yeah, it's like some other planet was just like, you guys are so annoying that we're going to banish you, crazy gods.
If you're going to keep fighting, you can do it somewhere where you can't bother us.
Get out. Go to this, what is this rock called? Scadrial? Go there.
That'll teach you. And so he's like, people say that Preservation sacrificed himself to imprison me. The sacrifice was way earlier. Ever since we created you, there's been an imbalance, which we also already knew from the epigraphs. So none of that, or well, I will say none of that. A lot of that is not as new information for us, but Vin didn't know any of it, so she needed to find out, I guess. But she also notes that he's talking about how he's stronger than her, but they still seem equally matched. And he doesn't seem to be lying. So there's something else out there, something that he's looking for, another piece of himself, which once again, we already knew. But she figures out what it is. That is the Adium, and Ruin would be stronger once he found that. And she's like, I don't have enough understanding of this power to use it well. Ruin has like thousands of years head start on me in understanding how to use these powers, so I'm not in a good place. And Ruin's like, I gotta give you credit for one thing, Vin. You destroyed all of my Inquisitors except for one. And they're very hard to make. So, but then she sees someone coming to Luthadel, flying on spears of light, and it is Elend. And that's the end of that chapter. That was a kind of a shorter one. Looking back, the next epigraph is looking back, we should have been able to see the connection between the mists, Allomancy, and the power at the well. Not only can Allomancers pierce the mists, but the mists swirl around somebody using Allomancy as opposed to someone using Hemalurgy. The more spikes you have, the longer one is influenced by spikes, the more the mists were repelled. And this is where Ellen shows up, at Luthadel, and he's like, what the hell? Like, Krennic Shaw is leveled. He doesn't know what a bomb is, but it's like a bomb went off here. He's like, what happened? How is this even possible?
It's basically a running gag in this book. Like, every time someone else gets to Luthadel, they look around and just going, what the fuck happened here? And it just gets worse every time.
That's true. I hadn't considered that, but it's at least 3 times now. That's a good point. He's like, okay, this is messed up, but where's Vin? That's what I came here for. And he's like, it was weird because strange stuff is happening. Like, it was really hot for a minute. Like, my face is burned from how hot it was, and then the sun left. And now it's nighttime, even though all the clocks say that it should be like the middle of the day. And he gets to keep Venture, and there's lots of dead people, including he finds like on the back patio or whatever, the corpse of Penrod, who appears to have killed himself. And he finds letters scrawled in charcoal on the floor. I'm sorry, something is taking control of me, of the city. I'm lucid only part of the time. Better to kill myself than cause more destruction. Look towards the terrace dominance for your people. And Helen's like, wait a second, really? The terrace dominance? That's like way up north. Why would anyone go there? And in case anyone was interested, there is a little bit in the annotations about this bit where it's like, yeah, basically there was a house war, which he says, which I believe I mentioned earlier in the texts, that did all of this damage. The dangers that Kelsier rioted up and nearly loosed on the city 4 years ago finally snapped and were allowed to run free. Previously, Elend held off the Ska and the nobility from tearing the city to pieces. And he says, poor Luthadel, it's taken a real beating. First the rebellion, and then the siege, and now this, our last scene in the city for the series. We leave it behind as a corpse.
Wow.
Note, however, that there are indeed people hiding underneath Krennic Shaw, as Elend fears. A lot of them, in fact, as many as fled, but I didn't want to deal with that in this book as it would be distracting. So yeah, okay.
So they're all dead?
Oh, I mean, I think right now they're all in the cave with a building crashed on top of them, so they can't get out. So maybe.
The rise of the mole people.
Well, they probably got some resources down there if Ellen left anything down there.
Yeah, I figured he must have left some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they'll survive. They just can't get out, so they're going to become the subterranean Morlocks.
Yeah, sure.
So we can die later.
Really, it depends on if the world survives the day, so.
True.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Crab people, crab.
But yeah, a voice whispers to him, Ruin, lies. And he's like, wait, Ruin can change text. So I bet that is not what that said. But the people went somewhere, right? So, And this is where he thinks, like, maybe they made it to the storage cavern, but I kind of hope not, because the palace collapsed on top of that, so they're kind of stuck if they did. And then a voice whispers again, west, the pits. And he's like, wait, Ruin usually changes just a little bit, as little as possible, so it's still similar to before. So maybe instead of terrace dominance, Penrod wrote the terrace people, which makes way more sense, because that's way closer than the terrace dominance. And it's an established group of people where they could take some refugees and stuff. So he heads that way. And Vin's like, man, I understand Ruin's frustration now, because I have like the powers of creation, phenomenal cosmic powers, and I can get like 4 words to Ellen, and that's it. That is really annoying. And I don't even know if he heard them. And Ruin's like, hey, balance imprisoned me. Preservation managed to lock me away. For a time, only for a time. And what is time to us, Vin? Nothing. And we get to the last epigraph for this section. It may seem odd that Adium was part of a god. It's necessary to understand that when we say body, we generally mean power. As my mind has expanded, I've come to realize that objects and energy are composed of the same things and can change state from one to another. So whenever they're talking about body, it's like part of the overall power of a god. It's just the power that's in a physical form, basically. But interestingly, Adium, everything in the world is half ruin, half preservation, except for Adium, which is all ruin. The pits of Hassan were crafted by preservation as a place to hide a chunk of Ruin's body that he'd stolen away during the betrayal and imprisonment. The crystals would have regrown in a few hundred years after Kelsier destroyed them and continued to deposit Adium, as the place was a natural outlet for Ruin's trapped power. So I guess there's the explanation of why it grows there, because that's what preservation set it up. He needed to put the power somewhere, and so he created this outlet for the power.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is that like it regenerates itself in that once it's burned, it still exists. and then just like is recreated in the geodes.
Yep, eventually. Yep. And I like that he's like, hey, maybe since it was all ruin power, maybe that's why Adium turned people into such efficient killing machines. That's a ruin thing.
You have to wonder. They made a point in one of the other epigraphs that, you know, when people use allomancy, the mists swirl around them and come to them. But if Atium is all ruin, then if they're burning Atium, do the mists still swirl around? Or they just go, ew, not that one, and sort of stagger off a bit?
That is a good question. I don't know that we know that we've seen somebody burning just Adium in the mists to see what would happen.
Yeah.
I personally hope the mists went, ew.
Ew, gross, get it away. But yeah, it's Joe's point. It says that the power comes back after the nugget is used, just like the power at the Well of Ascension comes back after it's used. Just takes a while. And then we get to the comedy, the Three Stooges section, and Say's just like, this is the weirdest dungeon that I've ever been in. I mean, I've only been in one other dungeon, but I've read about dungeons, and this is weird. Like, it's just a hole in the ground with an iron grate on top. And he's like...
Yeah, I think my favorite part is that they, even though they know he's not Khandra, they just pour water on him instead of like giving it to him in a way he could drink it. They're like, this is what we do for all the prisoners, so let's just pour some water on him.
We have blankets and bedding, but we don't have cups.
Yeah. It's like, hey man, you guys run around in true bodies. Like, can you not just pour water on me? Can you give me a container to drink it out of?
He has to like wring out his clothes and drip the water into his mouth because he's all wet from them coming around and periodically dumping water on him. And I just like the way he's sitting there thinking, like, I guess these pits are made for a Khandra. I mean, like one without bones, I guess. What would that even be like? A pile of goo? Pile of muscles? Like, he's having the same discussion we have about Khandra.
Yep.
It's like a member of the third generation had poured some water on him, and he was still wet. He'd taken to sucking the cloth of his robes. And he's just like, this is silly. The world is ending, and I'm in prison? What the But now his hope is getting stronger. His faith is getting stronger all the time. The hero is real, and Sayes believes in her. And he notes that the lock is steel, and the grate is iron. So he's like, well, I guess while I'm doing nothing else, I can save up some ferrochemy. The lock he can store speed in, and he can store weight in the grate. And being able to store stuff and go into like a trance to store stuff, I guess, just helps pass the time, if nothing else, because he's got nothing he can do down here. And it's like he wasn't sure.
A magazine?
That would be nice, right? No, that would get really wet the next time they came to pour water on him.
Yeah, true.
He wasn't sure how long the meditation lasted. Occasionally, the guard came to pour water on him. It's so rude. It seems like, yep. Oh gosh. And then he hears something, and a face shows up, and he's like, "Dude, when I sent you back to save my people, this is not what I had in mind." And he's like, "Tensoon, oh good, jeez, this is nice." So Tensoon has recruited some of his buddies, Melon and some other presumably like younger generation people, to come and help out. Apparently, Kanpar announced that the first generation had ordered Sayes to be imprisoned. So no one is suspicious at this point that anything has happened other than the first generation decided they didn't like Sayes anymore. And Sayes like, no, man.
Those old guys are fickle.
Yeah, right? He's like, the second generation took the first captive and planned to rule in their stead. And Melon's like, no, they wouldn't. And he's like, yeah, they would. And he's like, actually, I'm kind of scared for them because I'm a human. Kanpar wouldn't kill me, but the first were not humans, so... And Melon's still like, no, they're Khandra. They wouldn't do something like that. We're not like that.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, my gosh. People are people, even blob people.
It's like Tensoon and Sayes, the two outcasts from their society, are just like, wow, okay, we really need to educate this girl.
It's like, oh, you sweet summer child. It's okay. And Tensoon's like, okay, we got to find the first and recover the Trust Warren. And one of the other Khandra's like, yeah, we'll fight with you, Tensoon. We're going to overthrow the seconds and their insistence on serving the humans. And so he's like, wait, what? That's not what we're doing here. Okay.
Remember, men, kill all aliens except me, sir. Yes, no one kill Kif. Unless you have to.
And then comes the comedy fight where Sayes falls on people and destroys them. Which, it's really a great plan. And he notes in the annotations, he's like, Says keeps saying he's not a warrior, but he's actually not bad at this kind of thing. He's smart and has managed to do some good stuff.
I mean, yeah, Sace does a good job here, but all I hear is Benny Hill.
Just the way the paragraphs are laid out when it says then fell on him.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like we got this really dramatic moment and belly flop.
The guard comes up and he hugs him. He gets him in like a bear hug and then falls on him while being way heavier than usual and breaks all of his stone bones. And then he can also tap a little speed to, move faster than them and grab them. And he's like, yeah, they use stone true bodies. Not enough. Considering how much weight I have saved up, we're going to crush that to a fine powder. And then we can shove them in one of these pits. And then once he's done, Tensoon has the final guard down in his dog body. He's like, dude, I thought you were a scholar. And Says is holding the hammer and kind of throws it aside. He's like, I am. I mean, Vin would have fought her way out of here days ago, but Tensoon has a plan. Oh, here we get a fifth generation's name, For Kood. He's like, what have you done, For Kood? And he's like, spits, and he says, dirty third. Which, we got some like deep-seated racial stuff happening among the Khandra. That's messed up.
Oh, good. Class warfare. Like there has been a lot of that already.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, we're better than humans. Okay, yeah. The first book was all built on a class warfare situation among the humans, and here we have it happening as well.
Yeah. And I just like the Tensoon's like, you're the traitor this time. Ha ha ha.
No, you.
Bullshit, I wasn't with a hooker today. Ha ha.
But then they find the first generation. They've been put in some of these cells. He's like, they must have killed the Khandra who were being imprisoned here as like eternal punishment, and then hid the first generation in there. No one would expect that, and it wouldn't look strange to continue to feed them or whatever, because that's what they do. So, and Say's like, we got to get moving, and Tensoon's like, no. If we don't have the first with us to like explain, we're not going to get far. Like, all of the rest of the Khandra will come after us. If we got the first on our side, then everyone will listen. So, and he goes over to For Kood and he's like, okay, so either you give up those bones or I'm going to digest you and kill you like I did to Orsor. So I guess that explains how he killed Orsor finally. Ew.
So he's a cannibal?
I guess. And Sace is like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, Zane taught me this. No one expects a Khandra to be an imposter. And so he takes For Kood's bones and pretends that he's For Kood. And he's like, I'm going to go out and tell him that, like, Tensoon's been captured. It's all good. Nobody needs to worry, because the first generation are going to take a while to regenerate once they get bones. They're not real good at this. And the section that we read this time ends with Sace sitting down. He's like, you know what? I guess there's really not a rush, right? I mean, we need the first generation. They're here. So what if the seconds are in charge for a few hours? What harm could they possibly do?
Yeah, you really shouldn't have said that,
Sace. I mean, there's having faith, and then there's that.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Damn it, Sace, you're the smart one.
And I like Brandon in the annotations. He's like, yeah, I probably should have cut that last line. It feels really cliche, but it really is what Sace was thinking. So, and then he goes, foolish Sace.
Because you've said that line now, you've damned us all.
Yeah. Well, Sace doesn't know he's in the Sanderlanche.
No, that's true.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So, yeah, that was our chapters. Things have been happening. This is an acceleration beyond any of the other Sanderlanches. We've got people becoming gods, entire cities getting destroyed. So, what do we have as far as predicaments time? How now that we're approaching the very end, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. So here's my prediction for the ending, and I'm gonna tie in some things here. So in one of the epigraphs, the epigraph writer, who we believe as a group collectively to be Sazed, says, "As my mind expanded." Okay, which is exactly what's happened each time somebody has touched the power of preservation. And so what I think is going to happen is they're going to realize, somebody somehow is going to realize that Vin is now preservation, or Vin's going to be able to communicate somewhat directly or indirectly with her comrades. Maybe Ruin will get the adium and they'll have to fight him in his bodily form. Whatever the case may be, basically at the end, once Ruin has been vanquished, or even if he hasn't, at the end, what we're going to see is like Vin wants to be with Elend in human form. It wants to be back with her husband. And so she basically Sazed is going to take the mantle of godhood from her, and he is going to become the new preservation. Plus, it kind of fits with his whole style. It's like his whole life he has been a preserver of knowledge.
Sure. So
like, that kind of fits in with his kind of thing, with his personality type. I feel like he's also I think we get a sense that Ruin is the evil part of the yin yang, and so preservation would be the benevolent part of the yin yang. And I feel like Sazed has been up until recently a very benevolent person, and then most very recently has kind of gone back to that way of being. So then I'm sure thinks that Sazed would probably be much better at being preservation or having preservation's power than she would. So that is my guess for how that kind of story is going to wrap up, is where she will give up that power and then Sazed will become the new preservation. As far as the world ending, I mean, maybe they will be all moved off planet. Potentially Sazed could just move the planet or move them. I mean, if preservation has the power to move the planet, and if they're not originally from the planet, maybe his power is not limited to just doing things on the planet. Maybe he can actually somehow transport them or something. But yeah, so that's my as much sense as I can make of what we've read so far as to what I believe is the most likely outcome for the Vin Sazed Elend story that's kind of unfolding here at the end. But yeah, things are obviously going to get worse before they get better, especially in the homeland of the Khandra, since that's where the adium is and stuff.
Yeah, things don't seem like they're going to get better. I agree right away. Also, that's a good point. I feel like if Vin was out there and she's like, okay, I don't want this power. If she was going to handpick someone else to have it, I think that it would make sense that she would pick Sazed. That, like, who's going to be good at this? Who's going to know stuff and be able to learn about how to use this power? That guy. Is that guy? He's no. Okay. So that's some good thoughts. Okay, cool.
So I need to preface this is like so I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen, and now having listened to Joe's prediction, I hope I'm wrong, because I like his a lot more than I like mine. Just the fact that the epigraphs were like, really playing coy about, Vin had the power, like she's the one person who had the copper cloud thing, blah blah blah, that we read this time, and then she turned into a god. I thought that was basically her just like surrendering her identity as Vin, saying like, so that was a person, I am no longer that person. So that was when I started to swear. It's like, oh, maybe Vin really is the one noting all this down, the hero of ages. And I'm like, yeah, like that's where I thought that was going. But yeah, having just listened to Joe's theory, it's like I want that, because like, one, it makes a lot more sense for Vin to do it that way. Makes a lot more sense for Sazed, because he is the one who can learn and do things correctly. I mean, he made that whole dam situation with the pulleys and whatnot back in Urto. So like, if anyone can figure out how things actually work and the right way to do things, it's got to be him. So yeah. So yeah, that was what I thought. Oh, maybe it actually is Vin telling the epigraphs, and now it's like, oh god, I hope it's not. I hope it still Sazed. But yeah, like, don't really know where else this is going, because this is all so chaotic. Like, I am convinced Marsh is coming back for one last hurrah. I mean, he's gonna die, but we haven't seen the last of him yet. I mean, they made a point, like, even Ruin said, like, yeah, you left one of the Inquisitors alive, so he's not done. And maybe Ruin gets his power back and like doesn't need Marsh anymore, so Marsh is finally able to fight back against him or something. I think that would be satisfying. But yeah, and yes, again, Joe is right. Kanpar is being nudged by Ruin with the spikes in him. So yeah, causing problems. I don't know.
Okay.
It's like I've got. The plot is flapping wildly and I can't keep up. I'm just like, oh god, I just need to like just sit down amongst the storm and let all the details sink in.
Yep. We're almost there. So you can.
Yeah.
Once we get to the end, you can sit there and go, oh, now I see how it all fits.
That's who the third guy talking to Quellion was. We still never got that answer.
Nope, we have no idea. It turns out that was like Ruin Kelsier in there. He was just at the meeting.
Couldn't have been. That was pre Spook Spike.
Before the spike. That's true. Yeah, good point.
Spook Spike.
The Spook Spike.
Yeah, are you feeling down about yourself and want to get some power on your hands? Reach for the spook spike. There you go, another
Side
ad
effects,
right
may
there.
hear voices.
Yeah. May hear voices and lose control of your mind.
Okay, so overall, I'm gonna say Sazed is still the hero of ages. I think
Okay.
I've maintained that this whole book, and I'm not willing to give it up now.
You jump ship at the last minute.
Yeah, I can't just do the switcheroo. That's mean. So Sazed definitely still the hero of ages in my book. I really like Joe's thoughts on how he manages to sort of touch preservation's power, and I like the idea of Vin and Ellen being able to be back together, because that was making me sad when I was like, oh no, she's a god and she can't speak to him, and this is awful. We're so invested in this relationship now. We need this to work. You know, I hope there's some kind of happy ending there for them, but it really depends on what actually happens to the world. They haven't really, I mean, apart from Vin's Inquisitor fight, they haven't really had a lot of wins that Ruin hadn't designed at this point. So I'm still leaning towards the world will end, but I think there's got to be something fairly significant to the Kandra pulling out their spikes, and if their spikes have got something to do with Ruin, that's going to have a pretty significant impact, I guess, to Ruin's ability to do what he does. Especially, it looks like there's sort of that design flaw built into them. You know, you pull that out and something happens. I don't know, but if en masse every Kandra pull out their spikes, that's going to have to do something fairly big. So I don't know what that's going to look like yet. It feels strange that we've only got a handful of chapters left, and there's so many things we don't know the answers to. I don't know how we're going to, or if we're even going to get a chance to wrap things up further with the crew, well, those who are still remaining in Vadrex. I feel like we've sort of had our goodbye with Yeoman, but we know Ham's still out there, possibly on their way back, but it was like get the people into the caverns. In Urtau, it's keep people into the caverns. From the annotations, we know there are people underneath Luthadel. Like, everyone's getting underground, so I don't know. I don't know how we're going to go.
The epilogue is just Ham engaging Yeoman in a philosophical conversation. Yeoman's really into it, and Set is just like, oh, fuck!
I'm stuck down here with these guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be, yeah, there's still so much to wrap up. It's such a jumble of information, but yeah, looking forward to seeing how much we can get thrown at us in the next few.
It really harkens back to the first book, even, where we got towards the end, and it's just like, well, they're obviously not going to beat the Lord Ruler in this book. Like, there's no time for that.
Yeah, and all of a sudden they beat the Lord Ruler, and it's like, oh.
Yep.
Oh.
I guess there was time for that. Okay, then. Do you remember the days when we were like, yeah, I mean, clearly they won't beat the Lord Ruler this book. It'll be like they'll lose and they'll have to reorganize next book, and then in the third book they'll probably beat him. Or
it was kind of just like I mean, yeah, like literally the end of the novel as a whole was them killing him, and then like, because you expect after a battle like that, there's going to be a much longer wrap up than there actually was. I think that was one of like, I think Joe, you said that like the epilogue was just way too quick for that book, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the abruptness of the first book was jarring, only overshadowed by the abruptness of the second book.
Yeah. So, you know, next week we'll find out, is it topped again?
Yeah, it's going to be even bigger. It's going to be Sazed on a rock riding through the Cosmere. Like, man, that sucked, huh? The end.
Yeah.
Smash
He's
cut.
He's going to be like Silver Surfer, but instead the song's going to be Don't Stop Me Now.
I was just having the same thought. Yeah.
Yep.
says the Comet Rider.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a badass title.
Says the World Rider.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to find out next week what happens. And just while we're on the subject, we're finishing the book for next week. So chapters 79, 80, 81, 82, and the epilogue.
Ooh.
Holy shit.
We're like, well, we started in like April, so we're like 13 to 14 months into this, and we're finally finishing the trilogy.
Hey, that's not bad. I mean, we even took like four weeks off or something like that. So, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm pretty good. Okay. Yeah, so those are for next time, and we will see what everyone thinks about the book, the ending, and the trilogy wrap up in the next episode. Yeah, so the next episode, we're going to do the end of this. We'll hit, well, obviously, what did everyone think of the ending and how you feel like the book wrapped in the trilogy. But then the episode after that, when we start in on Secret History, we'll take time at the beginning of that, because it'll be a short section we're reading, to do a few. I think I picked out like one prediction from each of you from like early in the series that I thought was just
good.
Really great. So we're not going to do like a huge long segment on that, but we'll have at least a little bit of it. And we may do a little more like wrap up feelings on the trilogy if we don't feel like we covered that enough in the last episode, because the section of text we're reading for next time it's longer than the section we read for this time, even though it's fewer chapters. So depending on if we feel like we had enough time, we'll have more time for the next episode that we can still kind of come back and wrap that up if we need to. So that is the plan there.
Cool.
In the
Hey,
meantime,
Dak, Jamie, how do you guys feel? Like, we could finish the book now. We could finish it.
It hasn't quite sunk in.
I know. Right after we get off
It's
the recording.
exciting.
Yeah.
freedom.
I think I'm still gonna wait. I'm gonna wait a few days before I finish it. I could digest everything.
Like normally we get off the recording and I pick the book up straight away and just start
Really?
reading it. But I probably can't do that this week because we're going to the movies in a couple of hours. So
Oh, what are you seeing?
Quiet Place 2.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never saw the first one, so.
I saw the
saw
first
it.
one for the first time a couple of days ago.
Well, probably a good thing to do before you go see the second one. Yeah, that makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you're not really into that genre, though, are you, Data?
No, not really. It's not
Yeah.
my thing.
I was surprised. I mean, I guess it makes sense because there's hardly any dialogue, but I was surprised that they're both PG-13.
So was I.
Okay, we have several emails this time, so I guess let's go ahead and get into those. I think we have 6.
Jesus.
Including the ones that we saved from last time, though, which we had like 3 left from last time. So, okay, so the first one is from Michael. It says, "Good evening, Sanderlanche crew. I'm Michael from gray and rainy Seattle, and I'm listening to your back catalog to catch up. I am fully caught up on the Cosmere, but currently listening to your podcast has been like reading Mistborn for the first time again, and I love your podcast and the highs and lows. Jamie, Dak, and Joe go through as Data leads them on and screws with their minds. Your podcast definitely makes going to the gym and my commute to work much easier. If my podcast app allowed, I would give you a 5-star or a 5 boxing rating. The one bone I have to pick is the amount of hate that Joe has for Spook.
There it is.
I know Joe wrote a Spook rap and on my way home today, all I could think of is what if Spook wrote a response and kicked off a rap battle with Joe? The idea wouldn't leave my head, so I had to get home and try and write out Spook's response. It's been a while since I've written lyrics of any kind, but here's what I think. So we have the Spook clap back.
Well, my rap was about Spook, so I don't really feel like I'm battling him. I don't think I said anything mean about him in the whole rap.
No, I think you're nice to him in the rap.
Also, like, Joe wrote it in Spook slang, so does that mean Spook would have to write it back in Joe's vernacular?
Yeah, you better write it in perfect English.
I'm gonna let Joe read the rap because that's his deal. I pasted it into our chat. You can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me read it. Oh, wow. This is good. Okay, here we go. Hey, for shizzle, it's your boy Spook. Dizzle wasn't left without the knowing, so Spook hate you start sowing. Even being left and with no sight, I still win. Will Finn this fight. Wasn't with the saving of the ladies. Now they all just want Spook babies. But the ladies gonna mourn because they can't handle less the borns. Citizen will have to run once Spook and crew are done. You shit on my lack of learning, but placing Kelsier's crew you won't be earning. I'd say you're worse than Marsh, but it's just Ruin who makes him harsh. Volcanoes from metal, you be crazy. Guess your predicaments are just lazy. Don't need Adium to burn to see. Joe has more to learn. Wasn't with more rhymes, I do be lacking, but Spook just sent you packing. Yeah, that's good.
That's real good.
Holy crap, that's awesome.
I disagree with the fact that the volcanoes thing. I didn't come up with that. I don't really want to be on
back for no reason.
Yeah.
Just a bystander here.
Yeah, I feel like Kelsier's crew I don't want to be on because he's dead and his whole crew is had it pretty rough, so I don't really care. But hey, man, that was beautiful.
Oh gosh. He says no actual hate to Joe. Volcanoes would be cool to get from burning metals. Still not Joe.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, still not me. Still didn't come up with that one.
I just thought it would be funny if Spook responded and got into a rap battle. Thanks for the great podcast.
Sure.
Wasn't to the time of next.
Never gonna live that fucking down, am I?
No.
Well, actually, I might because they keep blaming you for it. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently I came up with volcanoes.
There's a PS that's like, I since he didn't have the Apple podcast, is like, I guess I won't be in the misting crew. I'm pretty sure I'm stuck as a ska for life. It's tough to be a ska.
There you go. Noticeably FAT. Rewind the tape.
I'm gonna say he didn't review us, so he can't be in the misting crew. But for that skill with words, I think he should be a keeper.
There you go.
Sure.
Honorary.
Yeah.
Somebody asked on the Discord like what we're gonna do after we're not reading Mistborn. If someone leaves like a 5-star review, will they still be like in the misting crew, or will they have like new things based on whatever book we're doing then? And before I could answer, someone was like, I think that's basically up to Joe. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going with that answer. It's Joe will pick what happens.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I feel like if we do come up with something new, that just makes the misting crew more special because it's like, okay, that ended. You can't be in that crew anymore.
Yeah, it was
True.
a one-time only deal.
I mean, we'll come back to Mistborn stuff later, but
no, we're never coming back.
Well, we are coming back to Mistborn books later, so
yeah, this is me saying I'm not coming back. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Looks like I'm announcing my resignation. I will not run for another term.
Yeah, apparently I wouldn't get voted for anyway. I hate Spook too much.
Next email is from Michael, not the same Michael.
Oh, okay. Is it Michael Fassbender? Is he listening finally?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he might be listening. I don't know.
Have you been trying to get him to listen?
No, not at all.
Just posting on his Facebook page.
So Michael says, hello, Sanderlanche crew, but mostly Data because there's spoilers in here. I've been waiting to email you guys until I got caught up, but I couldn't help myself. I'm currently on episode 49, and I've been reading along. I'm lucky enough to have a job that I can listen to podcasts and audiobooks all day, so it's working out well, and I'm catching up quickly. To the meatiest part of my email, Dak predicted the volcano theory very early on. Adium creates volcanoes. In retrospect, that looks silly. I'm here to convince you that it was in fact genius and canon. During the final parts of Hero of Ages, we find out that Adium is actually a part of Ruin. So in order to make sense of the theory, we have to remember these 3 facts. 1, Adium is the body of Ruin. 2, the body and the power of one of these gods is the same thing. And 3, in chapter 34, we witness Ruin, and by extension his power, cause a volcano to erupt. Therefore, we can conclude that Adium does have the power of volcano eruptions. Bravo, Dak.
Yeah, I've often thought that when we figured out that Ruin was the one creating the ash mounts and making them spew more. I'm like, wait, wasn't this right? But I'm glad the listeners caught on. That's good.
Yay, people got my back. Thanks, Michael.
Now my question to you, Data, is my question to you, Data, is do you remember, did any of the listeners at that time be like, hey, he's kind of right?
There have been, over the course of the show, several people who said something along those lines where it's like, well, kinda. I mean, he's got a bit of a point. I don't think it was very early on. I don't think it was until we got into Well of Ascension when that first started coming in, when people were like, oh, right, Ruin is a thing. And, well, he's kind of, but there may have been one or two, like, very early. I don't recall.
Yeah. That was a joke prediction from, like, the first fucking episode, wasn't it?
It was very early on. I don't know that if it was the first episode.
No, it was because like Kelsey had burned down that dude's manor house, and we just
Oh,
we weren't
yeah.
sure what the hell happened.
That's right.
And I was like, okay. Well, maybe had I heard of Atium at that point? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
and-
I think maybe it was in the second episode because he tells Dox, I used up the last of my adium.
No, that might be it. Yeah.
Okay. Michael also says, I love the podcast. I discovered it when Data made the 1 year post on Reddit, and I've been binging ever since. However, I do have a bone to pick with Joe. Well of Ascension used to be my favorite in the series. I'm a sucker for political intrigue, so all the parts that you guys were slow and boring were the parts that I enjoyed the most on my first read through. All the prophecy stuff was background. That was cool, but not so interesting that I dreaded going back to the politics. Joe changed my mind. He's absolutely right. The book should not have been called The Well of Ascension. I hadn't thought too much about it before, but now I agree with him. The second book rubbed me the wrong way now. The title of the book should match the theme of the book, and now the ending feels rushed. So thanks for that, Joe. You took my favorite book of the series and knocked it down a few pegs, and you were right to do so.
Hey man, I don't want to make something that was your favorite not your favorite anymore. But we all do that, right? Like one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is Star Trek: The Next Conversation, and they talk about TNG primarily because that's where they started. And I loved TNG as a teenager, and then that's when I started watching it. But yeah, when they pick apart those episodes, I'm like, wow, this really is shit. But that doesn't mean I don't still enjoy the show or even enjoy the episode that they pick apart. It just means that I'm critically thinking about it in a different way from somebody else's perspective. So you're welcome to like all the political intrigue. And yeah, maybe I was right to point out some of that stuff, but hey, if you like it, you like it. And I hope I didn't really take that away from you, because that's not what we're here to do.
I'm never listening to that podcast now, by the way. I don't need people that show's bad.
Dude, they love the show. That's the thing. It's like they love it, but they pick it apart, and it's very like obvious, like some of the shortcomings, and you're like, wow, yeah, that's bad.
The end of the email is, I want badly to join the Misting crew, but listening on Spotify, can't leave a review. You guys are 5 stars to everyone that I tell you about. Love the show. Can't wait to see where you guys go next. And then he asked for the Discord link, which I already sent him, so we're good on that. Okay, we have a very short email from Sasha, and I don't remember what episode this came in after, so I have no idea what exactly she's talking about, which just makes it better. She says, will someone confiscate Joe's adium? It's really not fair, him looking into the future and spoiling everyone else like that. Tell him I said to stop.
Oh, so am I making some good predictions,
You must have made a really good prediction somewhere. I don't remember which one. So
yeah. I feel like this book has just been this is the first book I'm writing down every epigraph. I'm writing down a summary of every chapter we read. This is the first time I've done that in the series that we've so far. And I feel like it really has helped me catch a bunch of stuff that I'm like, well, maybe this or maybe that.
Makes sense.
So I took this third book very seriously because I felt like maybe I didn't give the second book its a super fair assessment.
I feel like you're mad that the second book put one over on you by like faking you out and giving you the clues to figure out that they were faking you out.
Yeah, it's probably 50-50 because honestly, it's like I feel like, wow, I should have been smarter than this, but then also I felt like, well, this book was abrupt.
Yeah, no, makes.
What is up with every email this week calling Joe out for something?
I know, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a polarizing figure, I guess.
The next one doesn't. So the next one is from Cyfix. And it says, I'm on episode 12 and loving it so far. The group's theories are way better than mine, especially when someone, I forget who, mentioned that Rashek was the Lord Ruler. They forgot about it after like 20 seconds, but still. P.S. Can't wait for their reactions to Secret History. P.P.S. Also, hi me in the future. I don't know.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. No, that is something that's always wondered, because like, I've got all these people saying I'm up to this episode, and I'm just like, so do those people like forget that they've emailed in and then they listen to an episode and you read out their email? It's like, oh shit, I did do that. So
that's how I feel. I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that. Like the thing he was just talking about, I'm the one who said that, and then I forgot about it, and then Jamie said it way better than I said it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was the thing I said.
Okay, was that you? See, I was just thinking, I'm sure he's not talking about Jamie, or he or she's not talking about Jamie's, because Jamie like had a big long thought out thing. She did not forget about it 20 seconds later, so it must be someone else he's talking about.
Yeah, it was totally me. We were joking around, and I said, it was like in the middle of an episode, and I was like, oh, you know what would be a crazy thing? I'm not even going to put this in predictions because it's just so
Oh,
ridiculous.
I remember
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
What if Rashek was the Lord Ruler? And then that's what it ended up happening.
Yeah. That's what we do. Like the joking, like this is absurd predictions always turn out to be right more than the actual predictions do.
Volcanoes. I'm saying they're right. I'm on board. Ruin created volcanoes. Ruin is Adium. You did it. You did it, Dak. You did it, buddy.
Solidarity.
We have one, Angela Prime. I don't think we've heard from her in a while. She's got her own channel in the Discord because she's was trying to keep up with us but was a little bit behind. And we love Angela, so I was like, okay, we'll have the Angela channel. So this one is a defense of Beldry. It says, hello all. It's been much too long since I sent an email rather than just chatting in the Discord. I was very behind until yesterday, and I've enjoyed finally reading and listening to the events of the last few weeks. Today I sent a message in the Discord along the lines of, I love Beldry. She's so much better than Allran. Then I listened to the podcast and heard differing opinions. I now feel like I need to explain myself and defend the version of Beldry who lives in my head, though I don't know if she's actually the Beldry we see in the books. So I should say that when Beldry was just some pretty girl who Spook was stalking, I felt very ambivalent toward her. I hated that we had a sweet, innocent little flower living in a cruel world that our battle-worn hero Spook would chase after. I was rolling my eyes whenever she was on the page. Then Spook acted somewhat logically when she showed up in the cavern, and Beldry didn't break down in hysterics when she was captured, and I thought, well, the bar is low, but that isn't as bad as it could be. So yeah, there's a ringing endorsement. The moment we realized Beldry is an Allomancer changed things for me. Suddenly, instead of being a boring girl who idolizes men with power, such as Spook and her brother, she was a woman keeping her own power under wraps to enact her influence. She didn't walk into the caverns defenseless. She was capable of defending herself, and was probably capable of escaping before she did. She just chose to stay, probably for information gathering reasons, and also because she actually admired some of what Spook and crew were trying to do. I wonder if she went there for the express purposes of being captured and gaining information, rather than the excuse that she gave. I have to wonder how much of her brother's success depended on her power. Yes, he had some power, but I can't imagine he wouldn't have used Beldry to his advantage. That means whenever Beldry is discussing her brother's actions, I imagine she's considering her role in that rise to power. So I wonder how much truth there is in the fact that she was excluded from the planning and governing. She may be a person who was viewed as necessary in the rise to power, but is now seen as insignificant when they're in charge. If not just with her power, then also Spook's interest in her. She's not ignored because she's powerless. She's ignored and she's powerful, and that impacts a person. I think maybe I'm projecting some of what I want Beldry to be onto her. There's not that much textual evidence of her involvement, so that might not have been Brandon's intent. I haven't read the annotations, obviously, so if Brandon somewhere wrote Beldry was just a boring puppet for her brother and never thought for herself, then I guess I take it all back. But I feel like there's more to her experiences than meets the eye. Also, my hostility towards Allran probably makes me more inclined to like any character who can be compared to her more than I would have otherwise. Thanks for continued quality entertainment. You're all great, and I appreciate each of you wuzzing to the time of next. So, I don't know. Does that change anyone's opinions on Beldry, these thoughts?
Maybe if we had more time with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, as it stands now, with us being at the end of the book, I don't see my opinion changing all that much.
Plus, you got to remember, like, we only ever saw her from Spook's perspective, really. Like, there wasn't a point where... Oh, no, there was a bit with Sazed as well, I guess. But for the most part, it's like, we only really saw her with Spook interacting with Spook. So it was like, I think that might have colored us a bit.
Yeah, that's probably true. I hadn't considered that either.
Yeah, we haven't really had time to process, like, on page, what sort of happened since Breeze and Quellion are back running things, and Spook and Quellion don't have their spikes anymore. So it does kind of change things. I think Angela's probably got a point. She's definitely, there's more going on there than what we were ever privy to. But yeah, we never got to see it.
Yeah, no, that's probably true too. That's a good point. Okay, one last email before we wrap up. This one is from Sean. Hello, I've been listening to your podcast for a few weeks now, blitzed through the archive, and now adjusting to weekly listening. I can't imagine reading Sanderson's books like this, especially towards the end of the series. Major props to everyone for their patience and self-restraint. Hearing everyone's thoughts and predictions is very interesting, and I hope you all are enjoying the experience. Keep up the good work. Best, Sean. So, thanks, Sean.
Man.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sending stuff. If you want to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can at us on Twitter or leave us a message on Facebook, Instagram, all that sort of thing. We are in all those places. Music by Miracle of Sound. So yes, for next week, we're finishing out the book. And if you're reading along, get ready for after that. We are going to start in on Secret History. We're also reading, as I said, the real next thing is actually the Scadrian System essay from Arcanum Unbounded. So if you have Secret History that you own separately, we will be reading a little section of Arcanum Unbounded that you might miss out on if you don't own that. And honestly, I recommend Arcanum Unbounded. It's a great collection of short stories. You can buy almost all of them separately, but it's much cheaper to get them all in one. And it's got these nice little additions that give us some interesting information. So check that out if you do not already have it. So yeah, read those chapters, everyone, or don't. Well, you guys have to read them. The audience can read them if they want.
I mean,
I'm not the boss of them, so.
Hey, you're not the boss of me either.
Only in so much as I tell you what we're reading on the podcast. You kind of have to do that part, otherwise the podcast gets weird.
Yeah, just show up.
Next week, the chapters we are reading are the rest of them.
Yeah. If there's anything left in your book, read that. If you, the Ars Arcanum is at the end. You can read that if you want, also.
Yeah. And now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, and I'm gonna have to get the image ready to send you guys because I said I'd show you like the hemalurgy chart after we were done with this one because Dak keeps going. I need to understand how this works. It's crazy.
I mean, there's just so many parts to it. It's just so confusing. It's like you got to have the right metal. You've got to pick up the right thing from the right person. It's got to go in the right spot of the body. How do you keep this straight?
Well, and honestly, the chart's not going to explain 100%, but it will give a lot more information than you currently have. So
yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll talk about that as part of that review of the book or revisit of stuff at the beginning of the first Secret History episode. That'd be a good thing to put in there. And then that can be our like Instagram for the week too. Anyway, so we're finishing the book next time. Everyone's very excited. They're finally have the freedom to read until the end and find out what happens and see what Vin does with her godhood. She's pretty cool now. So that's it, everybody. Wasing to the time of next.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must.